So I figured I'd just do this Facebook Live so you saw what I look like after I dealt with some kind of major affliction. And this one was for the books because it hung around and it really reared its ugly head in early November. Most of October, but early November. And now we are in late November. And so the last little bit of symptoms from that type of pox virus that I couldn't tell you what kind of pox it was the hair falling out. So my hair is extremely thin, but it'll grow back because it was falling out a couple years ago when the climate changed and everything changed. And there's all these different variants that were coming through. So, but I want to let you know that I told you starvation is the number one reason why people died. We have over-medicated our children and over-medicated each other, over-remedied everybody. Herbal remedies, elderberry syrup, whatever, turmeric, honey, apple cider vinegar, all that stuff. And people are starving. That's why people are dying. Starvation is the number one reason why anyone dies. I don't care before the pandemic or even now. It was a slower death process, yes, maybe 20 years ago. But as the climate keeps changing and the system was heading towards the actual climate change that they told us about 20 years ago, the frequencies of people dying and not enough time to redirect in between each diagnosable condition or evolution. Yeah, it's becoming shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And so I wanted to prove to you, okay, no, I know you don't watch what I do every single moment of the day, but I can assure you I take no remedies. I am completely 1,000% sober. I relied on the milk, meat, cheese, eggs, and all of that. And I make sure that my husband and I have milk in the house. Even if there's an inch left, he's still getting used to buying milk because we never used to buy milk before the last few years. I started buying milk when my dog was dying because I knew that was going to help her, but obviously we were not equipped to deal with the suffering for her to live because we've been told that you can't let anything suffer and die. And so suffering to live, when you can't prove that she's going to still live, but she's just suffering, wasn't something people could understand. And I don't blame you. None of us were prepared for dealing with someone to suffer to live. And you can't force any animal or any child or any adult to suffer at all, regardless if you think they're going to live or die. Okay. And so we had to do what was best. But I was buying milk by the gallons. And I knew the power of milk. And again, let me just give some credit to Michael Gifford. When I thought milk was poison, I thought milk was bad 8 years ago. And he's like, no, it's not. And he was right. And Michael Gifford now has a family and he has a bouncing baby. I'm not sure if it's a boy or girl, but a bouncing baby, and baby looks healthy. Mom looks nice. He looks happy, and I'm happy for them. And hopefully that baby can handle milk and everything else that is appropriate. So anyways, so I knew that milk was the everything, was the end all be all. So the last 5 years, I have been eating steaks and lobsters and pork and fish and carbs and sugars and meat, milk, cheese, eggs, everything. Raw cabbage. I'm not doing the juice. I don't need to do waterfalls. Because I'll tell you, when I didn't have a lot of coffee the other day and I just had milk and I still had more residual crap to come out, because I'll tell you, my range of motion is so much better. I mean, I still feel a little bit but it's not as bad as it was, I'll tell you. I drank more milk than the coffee because I had a little bit of the espresso left from the day before. So then I would make iced coffee the next day if I had leftovers. No waste, right? And boy, I had to poop. A little bit of diarrhea, but no big deal. But it was the milk that gave me the waterfalls. And so not only did I give my body nutrition from the milk, but it also gave my body the life to carry out any pathogens that may have been residual from this last little freaking variant that I picked up when I was down south. And so the milk waterfalls is so much better than the jelly juice waterfalls, because not only are you feeding your body, but you're giving it something to release, and you're also lubricating at all the different points because you're developing mucus. And it'll help you release the demons faster, and you're not starving yourself, and you're not trying to cure yourself either. See, I know people have said about milk cures. I'm not trying to cure anybody with milk. There is no cures in this environment unless it is FDA approved for the intention. Now it's just surviving the evolution. It's surviving the climate change. It's surviving all the pathogens, all the toxins. What are those? The microbes. The listeria, the salmonella, the E. coli. And you're seeing all over the organic stuff or the meat or any other packaged foods. They're getting recalled because we're in a different environment. Bloom is going to happen that quickly, so something is left out longer than it should be for just a moment. Before it was okay to leave something out for 15 minutes, but now 15 minutes could be like an hour in climate change. And so you can have growth happen like that, and you can have contamination happen like that. And we have so many people on Facebook who can't handle any new life because they're always on these remedies. Why? Because they're eating organic food and pestilence, and they're taking pesticides. That's why they're always in the hospital. That's why they're on cannabis. That's why they're scooping out cancers, getting transplants. And when I realized that the McDonald's was perfect because it was part genetically modified and part biology. So you have some kind of preservatives, as well as some kind of access to evolution. You don't want to turn into a Tupperware. People are like, oh gosh, you can't have butter because it's one molecule away from plastic. Okay. Or what is it? Margarine, sorry, not butter. And so they're demonizing these foods that are part biology and part genetically modified, part industrial. Well, that's how you get preservation. That's where you get the cures built into the food. But no, we're doing all this organic shit in the organic gardens that are fertilized by the cows that have all this parasites, and fertilized by all the compostings, and you have all these long worms and all this stuff that's now all over your tomatoes and your carrots. And you have the listeria and the E. coli and all this shit, and you have an organic garden, and you're giving your friends all your organic food because you're such a farmer. And you're grounding, you're walking barefoot, and your kids are walking barefoot, running around bare feet all over the place, picking up microbes through their feet and their hands. And you wonder why these kids are in the hospital every fucking day. And they're living on all these pesticides called elderberry syrup, turmeric and honey and apple cider vinegar and anti-parasitics and antifungals and ivermectins and what else? Oh yeah, antivirals. No wonder these kids are suffering. No wonder these kids are in the hospital 24/7, and they've been procreated upon like too much. So they are like, what, third generation, fourth generation? And so they're skinny, intolerant to air, food, and water, living on pesticides, eating only organic. And so then they're eating like sushi maybe. So then there's parasites in their sushi, parasites in the meat, parasites in everything, and they're taking the remedies to stop the body from releasing because they can't handle symptoms. And so they're trapping these beasts inside, and it's the veritable Garden of Eden. So you're watching people all over Facebook, oh look, I'm eating sushi. Oh look, I'm eating, all this raw stuff. Oh look, I'm eating organic shit, right? And oh look, I'm taking this remedy so my body doesn't release. I'm taking Imodium. I'm taking, essential oils and oil of oregano and this and that. And so they're eating all these things that have so many parasites in it, and they're taking their remedies to stop the body from releasing. Like literally, they are trying to stop the mechanism of the body trying to push out these parasites. So people are probably developing these huge anacondas, and they don't know they're holding these anacondas within because it hasn't like poked out of any orifice, so they don't know what they're holding inside until they do x-rays. They're like, oh my God, oh yeah. You know, all of your little remedies and all of your little, you know, immune suppressing cough suppressants and immune suppressing drugs and mucus drying agents and all of your cannabis and all of your shit that you're taking, your elderberry syrup. Yeah, now you're growing monsters inside of you. And that's why these people are getting these flesh-eating bacteria in their colon. Because everything's stuck in their colon. That's what, you know, obesity is. That's what, you know, someone who's getting really, really skinny because they're holding so much of that life inside. And so then they get these colon cancers. And they get these, you know, intestinal cancers and the ovarian cancers because they're having so much sex. And they're getting all these different cancers because their body is holding so much of those parasites inside. And so it's eating them out from the inside out. And so they're afraid to poop, they're afraid to sweat, they're afraid to pee, they're afraid to cough and sneeze and blow their nose, they're afraid to feel symptoms, or they're starving themselves. They're starving colds, starving infections, starving the cancer. And no wonder there's so many died suddenly. I mean, you can blame the therapies. Yeah, I mean, everything is a factor. It's all developing life, antibodies. But if you can't even manage the life in your body, if you can't even manage how to release it, it's not going to matter whether you take a public health therapy or that little supplement remedy drug that you bought from some MLM, because you're developing offspring. And the people that were promoting the ivermectins, basically horse parasites, I don't know exactly what kind of enzymes or what kind of proteins in the ivermectin that is supposed to treat horse parasites, but you can only imagine something that strong like an ivermectin against whatever it is that you have. You can only imagine what kind of fucking, I don't know, what would I say be inside? Well, I say anaconda, but I already said that. What kind of boa constrictors, what kind of dragons you're developing in your colon. And I get it. People are in pain. I understand people are in pain. I understand they're suffering, they're in pain, and what do? You know, that's why I don't go on people's pages and tell them anything. I don't say anything. I just watch what they do. Because, you know, people don't want to suffer, but they think that whatever they're doing, it could be taking away their pain. Until one day that energy conversion, there will be no taking away the pain. There's either died suddenly or, you know, you have to be on some kind of morphine. You're in like palliative care. And so the stronger the environment, the stronger the pestilence within the body, the stronger the drugs, the stronger the remedies people are taking, the more in resistance they are. And then the bigger the anacondas become, and then probably the faster rate of died suddenly. So I guess at least they're not suffering. And they think they're doing something. But again, I just observe, and I don't go on anyone's pages and dispute what they're doing. I don't, nope, that's up to them. They do what they do. If they come to my page and see what I'm saying and they happen to exemplify some of these examples I put out there, then yeah, I'm talking to you. Remember, there's so many of you. You're just another clone recommending some witch, warlock, or wizard doing magic. And it's pretty crazy. It really is. And so the system figured out how to implement change, and those who are resistant to change will be leveraged. And so when you give people everything they could possibly want, you give them access to pleasure and paradise and drugs and alcohol and sex and women and men, and let them break the law, not enforce it, not hold them accountable, right? Okay. Then when the time comes and they have enough evidence against you because of whatever you did back when you were like 18, 19, 20, 15, 35. All of a sudden, the secrets come out. if you are that influential and you are resisting the system. So that's why I got smart very quickly and learned the other arguments. Why, Jillian? Do you have a lot of secrets? Everybody does. I was never an angel. I mean, I don't have any adult criminal record. But I'm sure anything could be either materialized because I didn't know I was being watched, or the system can manufacture anything they want. At this point, all it takes is just an accusation. We have so many people out there that are so pissed off at Hollywood. They're pissed off at the politicians. They're pissed off at the scientists. That anyone that is within reach and accessible and someone that they can relate to has been accused of something, regardless if it's true or not, they will believe it. Because people are that pissed off at everything that it just takes one accusation and the train has left the station. And if there's enough circumstantial evidence to support whatever it is that the person is making claims against, oh, you've already been convicted. In the court of public opinion, it doesn't even matter if the court case dismissed it, because you'd be like, oh, there were just, not enough evidence, or they had a good lawyer or something. So you'll never escape any kind of accusation until you learn how to speak up and speak for yourself and argue your points. Be your own lawyer, basically, because you can't trust anyone to argue your own case for you. And so if you can't argue your own personal case for you, don't put yourself in a position for someone to make accusations, because we are living in some pretty fucked up times. People are dying suddenly. They're out for blood. There's so much child abuse, so much elder abuse, so much people abuse, so many bullies, so much war. And anyone who puts themselves in a position to have somebody make a claim against them or make an accusation because of whatever situation, you will be put out there. You'll be put out there for the taking. You'll be thrown to the wolves, because the system wants examples. They want examples, especially those who are really influential in the conspiracy world, in the red world and the blue world. And you don't want to be an example, whether or not the claims that were made against you were true or not true. And if you're not smart and you talk without a lawyer, you'll implicate yourself. And you may not even mean to say what you say, but I'll tell you, read that article about that girl. You don't know what the parents did. You don't know what that girl did. You just know the circumstances, but you don't know what led up to it. And you don't know what happened during the time. That's why there's so many cameras. That's why there's cameras everywhere. And that's why you really can't get mad now with the surveillance society, because you could be put in a position where you're alone with somebody and the camera is the only thing that could potentially absolve you, assuming the cameras work and someone doesn't go and erase the tape or it comes up missing. That's why I don't put myself in a position to be next to anyone's kid. I'm not a nanny to anyone. I don't babysit anyone. I'm not friends with people with children. No, hell no. And I won't get involved with people's health issues. I say what I say, but the system is listening to me. They listen to the phone calls. But again, you don't want to put yourself in a position where somebody can make an accusation and there are no witnesses to give you a defense that would be credible and substantial in a court of law. So it'd be your word against that person's. And so I just, kind of stayed unto myself. But I don't get involved with people's children. I don't do it. And that's why I feel sorry for these kids that are like 16, 17, 18, 19, and their parents are not aware. And so they're like advertising their kids, go babysit somebody. So then you have these yuppies, these young urban professionals that fancy themselves to be like those in the 80s, and they have this nice house and 2.5 kids and a Labrador. They have designer animals and designer everything, so they're pretty highfalutin. They're like, oh, let's just top it off and have a nanny and a babysitter that we can go and basically just give all the shit work to, because we don't want to do it as parents. And then that poor person who is desperate for money walks into a situation that they probably will not survive if that kid ends up dying suddenly, and there's circumstances that are questionable, and you don't know the state of mind of these parents. and you don't know what's going on with these kids behind closed doors, and it's just a messy, fucked up situation. So this is not the time to play house and have a big family and play, oh, I'm going to be this up-and-coming yuppie with 2.5 kids and a designer dog and a slave to do our dirty work because we want to go and party on Friday and Saturday night. Yeah, you could end up having to defend yourself in a court of law. And if it's just you and you have a questionable background and the parents are exemplary pillars of society, who do you think they're going to believe? Not this little 19-year-old that still goes to college. Oh no, the parents are all going to be like, we're the angels. We're parents, we're angels. It's always the caregivers that aren't related are the demons. So I'm glad I was a nanny in the 90s. I would not be a babysitter or a nanny or make extra money babysitting somebody else's kids. Not in this society, not with the diet study, not with how much agony people are watching as these kids are being taken, brutalized, and who knows what. There's no fucking way I would put myself in that position. And if you were a smart parent, you wouldn't put your children who are teenagers, who don't know any better, in that position either. But as you know, there are a lot of parents who are not very smart. I'm not saying you aren't smart, but a lot of parents out there who will put their kids and themselves in situations that they will pay for the rest of their lives if it'll be very difficult to escape. Reputation. Yeah. So, yeah, it's quite interesting this world we're coming into. That's why I just stay on my own. I don't play with anyone, really. I really don't. There's too much risk for people getting triggered, too much risk for... It's a litigious society. Everyone's out for blood. Everyone wants to sue somebody because of money, or they want to blame someone because of something. And this is not a nice society anymore. It's really not. And so you cross all your T's and dot your I's. Don't put yourself in any position to have anyone make any accusations against you. And you take care of yourself. You literally take care of yourself. And so I survived this last bout of whatever it was, some kind of pox. But you know, the West Coast with all these storms that are brewing and causing all of this, chaos. And I already see people saying they're in pain. Yeah. When the climate changed, these storms are coming through and there's thunder and lightning and there's so much rain and potential tornadoes. And the heat and the cold happening that quickly, up and down, the barometer up and down. Oh my God, it was agonizing. This last year was so agonizing. And especially after Hurricane Helene and bringing home whatever it was I brought home. And getting over that was, my poor husband, he's on the mend, but I'll tell you, it really messed him up. It scared both of us. And so... if I could give you any kind of advice, next year is, I keep saying it, but you can only hold back the symptoms for so long. At some point, you guys, there's going to be a tipping point. And you can only cure yourself for so long. You can only use the juice for so long. You can only use ibuprofen or any kind of, medication for so long before nothing works. Because the climate will again be so aggressive. It's been like a slow boil. My husband would feel like the last 5 years, he would stay, I would feel stuff and I would be like, oh my God, so sick. And he'd maybe be home for a few days feeling like, and then the next year he'd be like, oh, this is really horrible. Oh my God. And I'm feeding him chicken soup and whatever. And this last time, which was bad for me, it was bad for him. So you can only imagine next year. We're going to have a lot of people dying next year. Because if this year wasn't any indicator, it was an indicator. Next year is going to be an indicator of horrible. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be bad next year. If it's not already going to be bad. December, then January, February, oh God. And with these double Fujiwara cyclones over there on the West Coast, and there's so much contamination over there. People are in for some shit. And they don't have the body. They're in these yoga stuff. These people do yoga in the West Coast. They're vegan and vegetarian. Do you think they have the immune system to handle that kind of cytokine storm? Oh, I know exactly what people are in pain. Oh, I know. It's not even just a sharp pain or a tingling. Like I showed you that, as far as the frozen shoulder. I mean, my shoulders now, I'll tell you. Before going like this, it would hurt so much. And going like this, there's still a little bit of, stiffness, but it was worse before. But, I mean, I had the dull pain. And the only way that when it became really bad is when I had to poop. And I had to really help myself blow my nose to leverage the poop out down there. And I drank a bunch of milk. I wasn't doing jelly juice. I was drinking milk. And people have milk allergies, well, because it's developing mucus. And you have to be able to leverage your nose to blow it out here and blow it out down there. People don't have the conditioning. And that's the thing, suffering to live takes conditioning. But using the cures, there will be a tipping point. What are the cures? Well, using so much jelly juice. And I understand why. Okay, you don't need to explain to me. I get it. But eventually you're going to have to be able to blow out all of those microbes that are causing aggressive infection and attacking certain places in your body. And you have to face the pain, and you have to not be fearful. But again, you can't make someone not fearful of dying from sepsis or whatever. And so if they don't trust their body and trust the food and trust their ability to handle what's going on and their ability to develop a life where they can do that, then they're going to have to do all the different cures. I'll tell you, paying only $700, because we have now the home equity side of it. So paying $700 in a mortgage, okay, and utilities, and a car payment, and the insurance, and all that stuff, just the basics. And on just my husband's income has alleviated the pressure for him, because if he got sick, he would have to scale down, and I could make the bills working out there or working from home or something. But I am prepared, not to spend so much money on stuff forcing me to be out there and be under the influence of something, to be cured, to be around people, because that's why people are under the influence of whatever. They have to be medicated to do their job. They have to be medicated to be around people. Or they have to starve themselves. To be around people, to be around animals, to be around children, to be around company. When my husband and we were wrestling yesterday on the couch, it was funny. And not too hard, because last time we wrestled and my shoulders hurt, I almost fucking cried because it hurt so much. And he didn't mean to. And then after we were done wrestling, whatever, I was sneezing. Because he was like so next to me that I was taking in his microbes. I actually was coughing and sneezing because it was my body so sensitive to being exposed to diverse microbes from somebody else. And it's just him. We don't have anyone around us. It's just him. But that's how my body reacts when I'm around diversity, even just one person. So you can only imagine when someone's around more than one person, and they have animals and they have friends and family and people around them on a constant basis, how much they're under attack immunologically. And so they have to be under the influence. They have to be drugged. They have to be remedied, or they have to stay away from food because food would feed the microbes. And so then, people are forced to be medicated in order to be social. So I've chosen not to be social because I don't really feel like either suffering that much from evolution or having to be medicated in order to do stuff. But if something were to happen and I had to do something and be out there because of whatever situation with my husband, I would be out there and I would suffer every single fucking day, come home and throw up, come home and shit my pants, come home and eat a bunch of food and be sick every weekend, every day after work. I'm prepared to do that if that ever happened where I had to be out in public, because I know I would be under immunological attack. And since I am uncured and 1,000% sober, I know exactly what I'd be dealing with, and I'd be prepared for it. Just even going down to Hillsville, Virginia, and I'm like, fuck, and I could feel my face filling up because it was an hour away from the West North Carolina right after Hurricane Helene, because we already had reservations, and being in Hillsville, Virginia, I'm like, oh God, this is crazy. And I was there for 3 fucking days. Okay? In a hotel that probably wasn't like the most pristine, but it was cheap. It was inexpensive, and I have no problem with that, except for the fact that we're in climate change, and it was right after a hurricane, and it was just too influential. But if it was any other time before all this, I could sit in a hotel, in a cheap hotel room, and not fucking get sick or be sick from the area. So, yeah. It's pretty bad out there. And so, you know, I'm not hanging out with people. I don't want to be under the influence to be out there with people. But if I have to, because to take care of my husband or whatever, I would be sick for him. But I would find a way. Because when I was out there, I was pooping a lot. That's what I was trying to get to. That was the point I was trying to make. I had to eat, and then I had to poop a lot just to keep recycling those microbes out. And so that's why I probably didn't get afflicted so much, you know, because even these little things here, you see, I don't know if you can see it. They were a little bit bigger, but not that big. Maybe you can see that. And then my little leg down there, I don't know if you can see. Hold on a second. How do I rotate this? Oh, yeah. See, they're not that bad. You see over there, that's all those things I blacked out my window, but I don't black it out. I have blackout, but I don't put anything on the window anymore. But yeah, those little things are on my back of my leg. They're much better now. Okay, so in the back of my arm, pretty much healed. Okay, so I had to release the demons, and I was releasing a lot even when I was there, making sure I pooped everything out and everything, oh my God, and ate a bunch of food, and blew my nose, and rested and slept. If I hadn't done that, if I would take medication, I was down there, I probably would have came home and I would have like pox everywhere. I would have been a freaking case. But since I have a very efficient immune system and I know what to do, so it doesn't get worse, I had a very mild case of whatever it was that was circulating down there in Virginia. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to make a choice. Suffer and die for your social life, or eventually scale down your lifestyle so you can afford to regain another lifeline. Because I'm telling you, this old world of making so much money in a nice area and all the things that we did in the old world, it's done. It's pretty much gone. It's going bye-bye. People are sacrificing themselves for the old world. And they're dying suddenly, and they're suffering. And that's the thing. If you're not prepared to suffer to live, don't even explore my world, because you will suffer and you won't even get any benefit out of it because you'll die suddenly. If you want to suffer to live, you have to set up your life for it, and you have to know that you can handle it. And again, I couldn't tell you if you could or not, but that's the framework around what I'm doing. That's why I'm home. That's why I figured out how to condition myself to stay home and stay safe. I don't need to wear a mask because I don't go out there often enough, but there's a reason why you wear a mask. Because you are inhaling the crazy ectoplasm out there. But those who are flying around out there and hanging out with a bunch of people, I get it. You have to be under the influence of something, whether it's remedies, chili juice, cannabis. I understand. But eventually those days will be over and you won't be able to handle that anymore. There will be a tipping point. There's always a tipping point. Nothing like that lasts forever. And their system is telling you the cures are not, with the way the system is going as far as the climate's going up and down and everything, the cures will not last. And so if you want to survive, you're going to have to change and set your life up to change. Or you finish out your contracts with the old world and you might finish yourself out in the process. But no matter what, change is here. There's no way to resist change and survive it. There's no way. And that's all physics. So, yeah, we have enough evidence to show people now that it does take staying home and staying safe, eating all food, suffering to live, knowing that you can trust your body and yourself, knowing that you will be able to see through everything that you have to go through. And if not, then gamble on how far you can take all your cures and your lifestyle. And I hope it's worth it. You might as well go out with a bang, right? Can't take it with you wherever you're going, so you might as well just go spend all your money, go have fun, do what you do. All right, bye.